trying to come up with a single metric or a single set of metrics that is consistent across all units and all departments, I think is a really good goal, and that drives consistency across the organisation. It drives a common standard, it drives a common currency and a common language across the organisation. I'm going to give an incredibly cagey answer. It completely depends on the organisation. There isn't a one-size-fits-all answer. There isn't a golden rule that applies to every single organisation. I could probably sit here for hours and pontificate on which metrics and which KPIs are better than others, but really the decision is down to each individual organisation to decide what suits them. And I think it's more about, it's not so much about which are the right KPIs and metrics, but it's about what you do with them and your ability to take action as a result. And I think if you focus on that first and foremost, then you will end up with the right KPIs and metrics for your organisation. So it's about what you do with them. So do they drive action? Is it really clear to the people who have to drive action, all the way from the front line in the contact centre to your strategic people, to your product people, through to your brand people? Is it clear to all of those different communities what action they can take as a result of the KPI? And if it isn't clear, then don't use that KPI. So it should be, one of the guiding principles is I need to know what I can do as a result of seeing this score and seeing changes in this score. Secondly, I think it's really important to keep it simple. I think a lot of organisations have too many KPIs, and that's also understandable. A lot of organisations are matrixed. They may be different departments that have different metrics. They may have inherited metrics through acquisitions or mergers. Trying to come up with a single metric or a single set of metrics that is consistent across all units and all departments, I think is a really good goal, and that drives consistency across the organisation. It drives a common standard, it drives a common currency and a common language across the organisation. So keeping it simple and not having too many metrics, because that can then drive misunderstandings, it can drive inconsistencies, it can drive analysis paralysis, where you end up just focusing on the numbers and not on the customer. So I would say the simplest version of that is to have one numeric score. So one example of that is your customer satisfaction score, or it could be a quality score if you're in a contact centre. And then the second, again, it depends on the context. Are we talking about operational metrics? Are we talking about customer-derived metrics? But you need to know what drives that score. So you need to know, what do I have to do in my role to improve that score? And there's a number of ways that you can do that. So in summary, keep it simple. Make sure that everybody knows what they can do to improve the number and have a score, but also have an understanding of what drives that score up or down. Massively, I think genAI, as well as predictive AI, is already transforming organisations in every department, in every quarter, and CX is absolutely one of the areas in which it's having a transformative impact. And we're only starting, actually, to really understand the nature of that impact. I think there are changes to come that we haven't really imagined yet. In my area, which is customer contact specifically, it's having a huge impact already, both in terms of front of house, back office. In terms of back office, things like resource planning, in terms of workforce management, in terms of making sure, in terms of channel strategy. It could be, in terms of customer-facing channels, of course, we're all familiar with the impact that chatbots are having, and the promise of genAI is that chatbots will finally deliver an experience fit for purpose. I think it's fair to say that a lot of 1.0 first-generation chatbots perhaps haven't delivered the experience that customers have expected. And the opportunity exists for AI, particularly generative AI, to upgrade the chatbot experience. But it goes well beyond that. I think probably for me the most interesting and possibly in the near term the most powerful set of use cases for AI sits within what I would call frontline support. So it is a suite of technologies and use cases that helps the human being that is in the contact center supporting the customer. So that might include things like writing assists. So with so many interactions now happening via text, writing assist actually supports the person who is serving the customer with their writing capabilities. It can prompt potential answers. It can query knowledge bases to ensure that the right knowledge and the right answer is presented in front of the advisor. You also have, further to that, a whole category of applications called agent assist. So you're putting information, knowledge, suggestions in front of the advisor in the moment while they are supporting a customer, whether it's this is something that the customer might be interested in, and you could consider mentioning this. It could be a next best action type of piece. So whatever the context is, the AI helps achieve a successful resolution and a more definitive resolution by supporting the advisor with knowledge. That's one example. There's a whole nother set of applications and use cases. For example, if you think about speech analytics. Now, speech analytics is starting to really have an impact in the contact center because you can now derive insights from the conversations themselves. The speech analytics can also do it in real time. So it can flag customer profiles. Speech analytics is really good at flagging vulnerable customers, for example, which of course is of huge relevance to many in the financial services sector, with Consumer Duty and the FCA wanting financial institutions to evidence what they are doing to better support vulnerable customers. There's a huge role for the likes of speech analytics in the contact center to do that and not just rely on the human to be able to listen and identify vulnerability. It can support advisors who are having difficult conversations. Speech analytics can listen out for those conversations that are difficult or stressful. And for example, it can flag a supervisor to come in and help and listen in to that conversation live. Or it can say, right, you've just had a really, really difficult conversation, take an extra break. So those are just a few examples of how we're seeing AI come into the contact center and support customers, support the back office, and most importantly, in my opinion, support the front line.